Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 8 of the PSGL F3 Championship. Tonight, we head stateside to Austin, Texas for the United States Grand Prix at the circuit of the America COTA, one of the most complete modern circuits in the world. This track, 5.5 kilometers, COTA combines everything a driver could ask for. The flowing high-speed S's in sector 1, inspired by Silverstone, a heavy braking zone towards turn 12 after back straight for overtaking, and a tricky technical final sector where drivers have to negotiate tyre wear and precision will be absolutely key. The track underlays dramatic elevation changes, including an ironic turn up towards 1, a blind off-camber uphill braking zone that always delivers drama, and overtaking. While multiple overtaking opportunities with wide racing lines, we are guaranteed wheel-to-wheel battles around this American showcase. Last time out, under the floodlights in Qatar, it was Artem who stole the show. Starting from pole, he drove a flawless epic race, taking his second victory of the season, defending from Stefano, who was behind him, who continued his good run in Fortune, and Fane as well, and another podium in F2 following from his win in Hungary. And championship leader with Luke didn't take victory this time, unfortunately, but a measured drive to finish in P3 as he continues to extend his lead. And boards. With damage limitation, P4 was a recovery, but he needs to know that he needs more pace to stay in the hunt for the championship fight after that DNF back at the Hungarian Grand Prix. My name is Jay Morris. I'll take you through this qualifying session and the race. And next to me is Milan Alanga. How are you doing, mate?
I am doing quite good. All right, thank you very much, and I'm glad to have you alongside me here tonight for this round at COTA. Yeah, great race last week at Qatar against the whole odds. It was a few drivers less, but still was a great race regardless, despite that track. But tonight we've got a COTA, which is a great track. Like you said, it's, well, in my opinion, the best track we've got right now in the American status on the calendar. A real original track here, not like a street circuit like Miami and Vegas. So the track I personally enjoy as well. So I'm looking forward to see how these drivers are going to tackle this track tonight and who is going to be able to come out on top after the race.
Indeed, Keke is back then in the Williams. His teammate Lars van der Linden, of course, racing back at the Qatar Grand Prix. Last time Keke raced was back in Silverstone, and what happened there? He took a victory, a fantastic victory. It was qualifying, it was raining, and he capitalised and he flourished to qualify to take pole position away that day as well, and still controlled the race beautifully after having the Haas wrap behind him throughout the whole race. Then he broke the DRS on the last lap as well, which was sensational. So you had the Haas wrap behind him throughout the whole race, and on the last lap just broke the DRS, showing his true potential pace as well. And let's see what Keke can do tonight as well, because both Williams hasn't really been active around this season as well. They had multiple races off, has the Williams pair as well. So I wonder what they could do around here in COTA, around 5.5 kilometres. Could be an interesting spectacle, this one, here in qualifying, as we see the undulation changes as well around the circuit, the uphill, off-camber corner in towards turn 1. And the PSGL F2, it was raining indeed then. I think the last time we had rain here in USA in qualifying, what year was that? Was it 2015? I'm not quite sure. I think it was quite a while ago, 10 years ago as well. But here we go down towards turn 1, then uphill off-camber corner as we head through there. Takes a wider angle going through turn 1, so we didn't really kiss the apex as we get back on throttle once again as we plunge downhill in towards turn 2. Now coming towards this fast speed S section here, inspired by Silverstone, of course. Flat out, downshift to 6th gear then as we carry the speed all the way through into 5th gear. A bit of hesitation and has already invalidated around this track, and that's what we're going to see as well as he spins at the top of turn 8 and turn 9 as well. So gone for a spin where Sebastian Vettel broke his suspension back in 2019, and that lap time is ruined, and plus the tyres are ruined as well. So we'll have to go on board with somebody else for the time being. I think Lars van der Linden is out there so far, but I'm looking for the first drive across the line. I think it's an Alpine driver as well. That could be. It is. Where is he right now, the RP driver? It is Diego, but I think he's on an hour lap, so never mind then. Looking for somebody who is closer towards line. LT Nick as we head down towards the braking zone, and this is where we'll see a lot of overtaking as well. This track invites you for overtaking, especially in towards the third sector, because you have multiple racing lines going through here as Nick gets a bit of a wobble on going out there as well, as we take a very wide approach in towards turn 15, cutting back through the apex, back on the throttle once again as we head towards the triple right-handed. It should be flat out, but the left front tyre takes a lot of punishment through that particular part of the session. I remember as well in the old games where the tyres used to overheat as well dramatically as we head down towards the final corner. Then keep it nice and tidy. It's very easy to overdo it with hot tyres as Nick crossed the line now. It's a 31.158 for the Dutchman as the rest of the drivers follow.
The Mercedes immediately of Albon goes quickest, but only by a few hundredths of a second. In fact, only 14 thousandths of a second. So the top two put at 31.1 right now. as the RB follows closely behind, and then comes Wards in the kicks out with a 31.2, a bit further behind as well. What about Lars van der Linde? He goes up the P4 only with a 131.4, so a few tenths behind as well, as Philip in the Mercedes seems to have invalidated his run as well. It's very easy to do that around this track as he drifts his way out of the final corner. It would have been a 31.6, but I do wonder if he had backed off in the final sector, as a bumpy behind in the Red Bull with a 31.7. These are all the banker laps. Of course, you want to keep it within the white lines. Polimachi goes fastest with a 31.0, and we are getting closer to the 30 already so far, as one of the McLarens has invalidated as well. Right behind is Mattia Manga in the Aston Martin. He crosses the line for a 31.2. Look how close it is already after these first runs. The top 5 within 2-3 tenths of a second, as Vessel goes P7 in the Ferrari. Then we wait for the other McLaren of Thiago Silva to cross the line, and he replaces that Ferrari immediately with a 131.5. And then it's Napol in the kick Sauber, but he has invalidated as well, I think. And then we wait for the 2 Alpines. Thiago is first across the line as he goes into that final corner. Let's see if he's going to be the first one to go into the 130s. Not quite, he goes up to P8 with a 31.6. What about his teammate though? Lucas right behind in the other Alpine, lightly off the apex there to the penultimate corner, now into that final corner. A bit of a moment as he has a massive moment on the exit with the back end wanting to step out, and it's only going to be a 31.7 that puts him in P11 right behind Boompje.
So it's Polimachi who still remains on pole position for the time being as we see with his teammate right now of where is it? Luke. Is Luke here tonight in the other Haas? He's not here tonight, I don't think. So I think he's just Polimachi who is here. I'm trying to look for him down the order. He's not here. So the championship leader of Luke is not here. And like we say every single race too, he's taking multiple poles this season, but still cannot convert it to a win. So he's still waiting to do that, but not going to be around here unless his teammate can do it in a Haas for the first time this season, because both Haases have had the chance to win, but unfortunately bad luck just comes their way. It's not really bad luck, it's just other people have the better of them, especially Polimachi as well, who's had internet connection issues as well in the past few races, but still waiting for a change of fortune, because I dare say he should be filling up the championship with his pace, but unfortunately just a lot of bad issues suffered throughout the whole season as Vessel heads back in the pit lane then. So a qualifying session here. We've got a few drivers evaluating here and there as you expect as well in the first sector and the last sector too, which can be quite difficult. It's so easy to overdo it because the curbs are flat around here, which invites drivers to try and push the limit even further as well, try and gain a maximum amount of lap time by cutting corners, but it can be easily done as well as every single driver then heads back into the pit lane before we start our second round. So it is Polimachi with a 31.051 ahead of Albon P2, and Nick in the Red Bull is P3. Now Red Bull are looking for something special here tonight as well, because coming in towards the season I thought both of them will have a big chance of scoring some really good points, but it hasn't gone their way so far. I think a podium picked up for Bobpierre back at the Belgian Grand Prix after he missed on a win after Jeroen Visser took it away from him as well. We don't have Autumn here tonight as well, so our championship rivals unfortunately not here tonight, and this could mean Wards have a big chance of closing that gap down, because he had that DNF back at the Hungarian Grand Prix and it really cost him dearly too. And I wonder as well, is this a big chance for him to take away some points, because he wasn't in the fight in the Qatar because the top 3 just pulled away. Like, they broke the DRS so early, which left the guys behind in the dust and in the wake of the car behind him as well. But this is a big chance for like Wards to close down the championship as well, maybe as well. Stefano, is he here tonight, Stefano? No, he's not. So Stefano's not here. So this is a big chance for Wards. Where is he right now in the championship? He's currently in let's have a look, P3 with 48 points. He is 21 points behind Jeroen. Jeroen, by the way, is still second, and he hasn't raced since the third round of the season when he took a win in Belgium. His last race win was 4 or 5 races ago, and he's still second place in the championship. Jeroen tells you how much of a big advantage he had after winning 3 wins in a row as well, and he's still second as Wards is P3 and Austin's P4. But Luke still leads the championship by 61 points. I think Wards, no, he can't. Maybe he can. If Wards wins this race, he could potentially take away the championship lead, and if he has the fastest lap and pole as well. So Wards can try and take the championship lead if he has a decent race here tonight as well, as he's the closest one in the championship. But here comes Alf then in the Mercedes. He is a reserve driver. It's his first race of the season here in PSGL F3. So on his debut, and let's see what happens as we make our way now towards turn 1 we go. Look at the steep incline up towards turn 1 as we brake hard in towards the first corner, kiss the apex down towards second gear, as we upshift through the gears. Use a bit of battery as well. as we head through turn 3. Now coming towards this fast flowing part of the session, a constant change of direction, flat out, then gradually gets slower as well. Not even a lift off through there as well. Some drivers like to lift off slightly there to get the rotation as well. And look at that, using all the curve on the inside. The car rotating very nicely. It seems like it's nice and planted for the time being as we head down in towards turn 10. Setup is absolutely essential as well. And key around here. Without it, you're going to be screwed as well as we head towards turn 10. This slow hairpin, and as we exit, this is very important to get right as well because it sets you up if you're the driver in front or behind. The DRS wide open, headed down in towards turn 12. Another heavy braking zone, and I think a few drivers can cut the corner too, as we now harden the brakes in towards turn 12. They do cut that corner, so no validation through there, but it's so easy to run off wide as well. He's only a few hundreds up in his middle sector, so a slight improvement there for Al, but can he make it up? Headed towards the final sector as we now flick our way towards turn 15 as we get back in the power once again, as he takes a rather acute angle going in towards this triple right-hander here. So let's see if that pays dividends for him. Now coming towards the Pulsman corner. Is there a lift off? A slight double the brake, lift off, back on the throttle once again as we head towards the final corner. There is traffic in the way, so Red Bull, that will distract him a little bit with turbulent air, and it does. Massive wheel spin, big goes pole. It's a 31.019, and despite that little hiccup going towards the final corner, absolutely incredible indeed, and that tells you there's more time to be found after getting not blocked by the Red Bull, but in a turbulent wake of the Red Bull.
Indeed, and as his teammate Philip goes up to P7 with a 31.5 after his first flying lap. That's two Williams drivers, and Lars Linde has invalidated. He is not going to improve. What about Keke? He is further down the line as well on his lap. I saw that Nick had invalidated his front as well through turn 7. That is why he's back into the pit lane. Very early on in the lap is where he unfortunately invalidated. Keke invalidates as well. And the other Williams still without a lap time with just over 6 minutes remaining in this session. What about the McLaren of S95 as he goes through the final corner? Hasn't set a lap time yet either, but he is about to do that as he comes out of the final corner, and it will be a 31.6. Puts him right behind his teammates right now in this race in P9. Then it's the Aston Martin of Mathieu Manga with a big slide out of the final corner. But he improves up to P3 with a 31.4 as Polimachi goes quickest and the first driver to go into the 130s, and boy is he in the 130s, 130.780 and over 0.2 of a second faster than anyone else out there at the moment. What about Wards then? He is improving by almost 0.2 of a second as well as he goes into the final corner. Currently set down in P5 but could move up to the front row. Yes he does, a 30.8, great final sector as well, and within a few hundredths of a second of Polimachi. As that is Diogo Silva improving to P7, and then we see Boomsheet going back into the pit lane. So both Red Bulls pulling back into the pit lane after rounds, and so is Vessel in the Ferrari. But Polimachi, he is quickest with a 130.7, but it is very close between himself and Wars right now in P2.
It is indeed two drivers in the 130s as Alb is super close there. I dare say there's more to improve for Alb, especially in the final corner where he got compromised with traction on the exit. As we've seen Napple, where is he so far? Down in P15 on a flying lap hit, but he's not. Unfortunately, he's run out of EOS and out of fuel too, so not many options left on the table for Napple as well. After a second lap, can't seem to find a lap time on the board. It's so important as well to get the reference points and a banker lap. But unfortunately, he doesn't even have that either, as he gives us literally towards his teammate, but I don't think his teammate's on the lap either. He isn't, sorry. So, Wards in P2, superb job so far. But let's see, can he try to take Paul away? He's exactly about 300s away from Polimachi. And where can he find the time in their last runs as well? It's going to be super epic, this qualifying session towards the end. And let's see who can find the limits. As Mathieu Manga, yeah, I said it like the first time, I'm going to say something different. Mathieu Manga in P4 has done such an epic job as well in the Aston Martin. I know his teammate Moustache, who picked up a podium in his first race. And after that, Moustache left. He finished P3 in the Austrian Grand Prix. But he just hasn't come back since then. He's only participated once this season, has Moustache. But Mathieu Manga, he's had the same results. He's had 2 P7s, 2 P6s, 2 P11s, and 1 P5. He just seems to pick up the same results every single time. So let's see in USA, will he pick up another P5? It's just the same positions every time as well. That's a great structure there as well. But is anybody else on a lap time? I'm not quite sure. Lucas isn't. He's validated down there in the Alpine. We've got 2 drivers of Keke and Napple who haven't set a lap time just yet. And Napple as well. Last week at the Qatar Grand Prix, where he didn't get off the line, and unfortunately Mathieu Manga hit the back of him. Mathieu Manga finished in P11 because there was no safety cars to help him come back through the order. So that's why Mathieu Manga didn't score many points back at the Qatar Grand Prix. But yeah, what a shame for Napoli as well, because he's desperate to score those points as well. He knows he's got the pace, but unfortunately, just small mistakes happen from time to time for the Kickstarter driver as well. Whereas his teammate is shining so far in P3 after finishing on the podium quite a few times this season in Belgium and in Silverstone, picking up top 5 and top 6 finishes. He's been super consistent, except Hungary, when he retired from the race on lap 1 in turn 4, but finished in 4th place to try and have damage limitation for his championship aspirations as well. He knows that his main contenders of Autumn, who are super quick, and also Stefano, and also Luke, the top 3 from last week, are not here tonight. So that could mean a new winner this season as well. And let's see who picks the pieces. Let's see who capitalises from that. And so far, it's Polimachi who's capitalising. And he's currently all the way down in the championship in P21 with 4 points. And it may sound crazy to see that, because usually on track, on paper, he is super quick. And you're thinking, why is he all the way down there in P21? But at the same time, looking back, you see all these mistakes. You see the internet connection issues he had as well in the past. So I really hope for his sake that the luck turns around. He may be well out of championship contention, but still, this will boost Haas's Constructors Championship as well, for their sake as well, because they are in a battle with McLaren as well, for good measure. They're in a battle with Sauber. It's not close. It's too close between Haas and Sauber by 5 points as well between those two. So this could be good points for Polimachi, but both Saubers are here tonight, Napol and Wards. As we see Lars van der Linden then currently on an hour lap, as majority of drivers then out of the pit lane to start their potential last flying lap. It's going to be very busy, very packed around here in USA. Who could take pole? So far, Haas at the home Grand Prix on pole. DRS wide open for Lars van der Linden as he gets to the final corner. He's the first one on the flying lap very early in the qualifying session, but some drivers might like to go early. But he'll encounter a lot of traffic as we head down in towards turn 1 we go. Seems very nice and smooth so far. Back on the power once again as we head through turn 2. Should be an easy flat corner, no problems through there whatsoever. Now the real challenge, the real fun begins as we flick our way in towards the first sector, concentrate direction, down into towards 6th gear, then counter speed all the way through. He's 700ths of a second up in the first sector. Doesn't really take a wide angle there to carry the speed and momentum all the way through. But as we now exit turn 9 and turn 10, as we head down towards turn 11, some drivers do like to overtake around this part of the track. I think Perez tried to go to the inside of Kvyat at one time. I think they made contact back, when was it, 2015, 16? It could be those years, but it's been a long time since then. Or 2017 back then as well. But as we head down towards the long straight, we've seen plenty of battles headed down in towards this final sector as we stamp on the brakes once again before the 100-meter board in towards turn 12. Doesn't really cut the apex of the entry, but uses all the track on the outside. He's currently 500s up in the middle sector, so he lost a bit of time in comparison towards his first and middle split, as we now head down in towards turn 15 we go. Oh, a bit of wheel spin, a bit of movement on the rear there, so lose the grip as we head down towards this triple right-hander we go. Lars van der Linden currently in P8, but there's traffic in front of him. Oh! I don't know how, but he's avoiding all of it. There's so much traffic in front of him. As we head down towards the final corner, how did that Sauber not make contact? I'm not quite sure. But here he is towards the line. He goes up into P6, so despite the traffic in front of him, he managed to improve somehow. That was super close. Too tight, I dare say.
Yeah, indeed. Not sure how he managed to improve, but there was a bunch of traffic in the final sector. Mattia Manga, he's invalidated his run so far. Ponematch is improving by only 100th of a second. Wards right behind him in the kick Sauber as well. It's going to be interesting to see between those two. Is there anyone else behind who could potentially challenge those two for pole position? The flag has fallen. Everyone is out there on the lap apart from Lars van der Linden, as Albert's not improving to the first sector, but we know he can fight some time in that final sector, especially where he had a bit of a moment out of the final corner. But Polimachi, as he makes his way down into the braking zone of turn 12, doesn't cut the inside line like others might do, and he is finding some time still, but it's only 13 thousandths of a second. What about Wards behind? He finds 2/10 of a second. Wards, he's on out a mighty lap right now. There's a Williams right ahead of him. That is Keke, who was invalidated again. Keke will start this race down in P16 only. This is terrible qualifying for the Williams driver. His teammate down in P6 as the McLaren driver across the line. He stays in P7. Bit of a moment there for Polimachi through the penultimate corner, but now one corner remaining. Is he going to be able to improve? No, he not. He invalidates, and so is Wards on his magical lap. Invalidates as well. The top two not improving, and Albi has the invalidated as well. What about Nick then? He's in P5. He's down by 2 thousandths of a second. As Morcar is pulling across the line then. Vettel has invalidated as well. A lot of invalidations at the end of qualifying here. That's the 2 Red Bulls then remaining. Nick has invalidated as well. What about Bonpie? He's up by 0.2 of a second. Can he do anything from down in P14 right now? Is the last one to cross the line as we wait and see what the Red Bull driver can do. Is from P14. He improves his time. Not sure what position it will be. It is going to be P7 for the Red Bull with his Polimachi on pole position ahead of Mart, but a bit of an anticlimactic ending to this qualifying session.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers invalidated in towards the penultimate corner, and that's where it cost him dearly too. And Wards, was the second row still good? That's because you can take the inside line in towards turn 1, and with the nature of the track as well, with the width of the track, it invites a lot of overtaking in towards turn 1. But the Italian Polimachi on pole with a 30.780, his first pole of the season, and it's Wards in P2 with Alp and Mattia Manga. So the Italian is looking good right now, with the Dutchmans of Nick and Lars on Linden as well. Bonpie P7 ahead of Tiago, and Dome in P9 ahead of Boyalulu. Diogo Silva P11 ahead of Philip in the Polishman in 12th place. Lucas Vettel, Napol and Keke the Finishman will start down in P16. Last time Keke raced, it did take a victory back at the British GP, but unfortunately on his return will start in last place and have a lot of work to do from there. But we'll see what the race is like, and it should be a good race because this track always delivers as well. And there was a safety car as well that came out on lap, I can't remember, it was an F2 just a few moments ago where a safety car came out and it completely changed the strategy as well. I think the top 3 got disadvantaged because they passed the pit lane when the safety car came out. I think it was Dylan Hogeland at the time who was there, and the 2 other drivers, I can't remember their names because I just had a quick flick. So the 3 drivers got disadvantaged, but I'm not quite sure how that race went because obviously we're commentating F3 right now. So we'll see what happens then going up towards turn 1, and it should be a decent race. Remember, turn 1 can be a sweet spot to overtake. I think Hamilton had Verstappen back in 2021 when it was Hamilton who took the lead, but it was Verstappen who won because I think he did the undercut on Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton with fresher tyres couldn't come back at him as well as we had. And 2018, sorry, where Kimi Raikkonen on the ultra soft tyres went to the inside of Hamilton, and it was Raikkonen's last F1 win back in 2018 too. Sebastian Vettel as well up towards turn 1 on Lewis Hamilton in 2017, but Hamilton got him back and Hamilton won the race too. And 2015 between the 2 Mercedes boys on Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton towards turn 1 when Hamilton forced Rosberg off the track in towards turn 1 in the championship bid. And Rosberg was going to win the race, but he made that mistake in towards turn 16, and Hamilton eventually became a 3-time world champion with Sebastian Vettel in P3. And that's what I love about this track because it always gives us some fantastic races indeed. And I think Bottas as well, who won around here in 2019 USA after I think he took pole on that day too, didn't he, Milan? And he won.
Yeah, indeed, one of the greatest performances around this track, I must say. It was a great drive from Bottas. He took a surprise pole position, actually, and then with the alternative strategy, in the end, he overtook Hamilton on track and took this win around this track. The championship, I think, was over by then, or was at least a week later. But Valtteri Bottas, yeah, 2019 was a great season for him. Unfortunately, not anywhere near the championship in the end. He started off well that season with 2 wins in the first 4 races, just like his teammate. But then it slowly slipped away, sadly, in his championship dreams. But it certainly was a great race back in 2019. And of course, 2020 we didn't race here due to the pandemic. And 2021 we saw that great fight between Hamilton and Verstappen, with a great strategic fight as well. And in 2022 we had, I think it was Carlos Sainz a pole position, but I think he got taken out by George Russell in turn 1 immediately. Then that was something as well. In 2023, I think we had Hamilton and Leclerc both disqualified after the race. It certainly has been a track that's provided some great action over the past few years, and I'm sure it will do tonight as well, especially if we have a long run up towards the first corner, which is so wide. You can see 2, 3, 4 wide potentially, so it's going to be exciting to see as well here in PSGL tonight.
It is indeed, and Polimachi as well scoring his first pole position, which means he gets an extra point. You get points for fastest lap pole, and obviously as well if he finishes at the top 12 as well. So he takes his first pole of the season. Good to him, but is that the place to start? Who knows? Because second place could be the favourite position, as you have the inside line going down towards turn 1 as well. 2024 last season in USA, it was Verstappen versus Norris, but Verstappen made an excellent lunge up the inside. But the race is about to begin then. We are underway here in USA for Kota, round 8, and the Haas gets a lovely start. So Wards in towards turn. What's happened to the camera angle here? Sorry about that. As we head down towards turn 1, up the inside. There's contact! Oh. Massive contact. He half spins the car and he keeps on the track. Mercedes overtakes on the outside, but he may have to give that place back. He does. He goes back up into first place. That was illegal, as the Alpine is in the background. They're fighting. As we've seen as the guys coming through the first sector. So Polimachi still needs to go off despite contact. Nick is up to P3 head of Walls. Does Walls have damage? Yes, he does. Oh my goodness me, he does have damage in the Open Stage Grand Prix, as Diogo Silva has a 10-second time penalty for cutting the corner as well. We see few drivers go off the track there. But Walls, what a massive shame, because he knows this is a big chance for him to bring that championship gap down with the top 3 not in contention in the championship here tonight in USA, as Philip and Diogo go side by side in the background. They go. But apologies about the race start, because the camera angle was horrible. Couldn't quite see where the drivers were. But as we head down towards turn 12, there's the Alpine looking for a move down the inside into towards the breaker zone. We go. Is wheel to wheel between those two, but the Alpine goes up the inside and he completes the move as the Sauber goes off the track there, but obviously he's got damage. So I think the Aston Martin Matteo Manga is desperate to get past. It's all over the place. Is the kick Sauber, but surely a lunge up the inside in towards turn 15. He does, goes up towards 4th place with an excellent move indeed. But Walls comes back with traction around the outside, and that's going to infuriate the Aston Martin driver, because he knows that Walls have full mid damage, and therefore does have the downforce in the high speed corners and may lose the DRS. He's struggling, has no speed there whatsoever, and he might break the DRS he has. That's going to be so frustrating for Matteo Manga down in P5.
For the start, that was really unfortunate through turn 1, and was Wards just hitting the side there of Polimachi, who was almost getting spun around. But unfortunately, the Sauber hit him back through, but that has caused the front wing damage for Wards. He's not the only one to pick up front wing damage, because once again, both Red Bull drivers have got front wing damage as well. Nick missing an end plate and both. It feels like it's a side we see every single week with both Red Bulls having front wing damage, and it's no different tonight. But as Nick has got front wing damage as well, but he seems to have the pace at least to try and stay within Albi and Polimachi, but the gap is growing already, and it's almost over 1 second between himself and the Mercedes up ahead. Wards 1.2 behind. He is struggling for sure with that front wing damage, and he's got Matteo Manga right behind him for company. But Polimachi is in the lead car out of this onto lap 2 here. He's got the Albi and the Mercedes very close behind, and Nick just staying within that DRS range. But the final sector is where he's going to be struggling so much, especially with that triple right-hander and that very fast left-hander afterwards. That is the 2 Williams drivers swapping positions. You know what? Keke, who started in P16, is up to P9 as Matteo Manga goes up the inside there of Wards. He gets the position eventually, and he goes up to P4. So one of the Williams going very wide in the background. That is Lars Lodin, still fighting it out with his teammate. Keke trying to hold him around the outside. Now he's got Boompje up his inside, but that will turn into the outside line for the next turn. But can Boompje potentially get the better exit out of it? It doesn't seem to be. Still has his nose in up the inside of Keke. We go wheel to wheel here, and one of the Rebels has got that front wing damage on the left hand side, but still they go side by side. But the Williams will have the inside line for the penultimate corner, but Bobby's going to stay around the outside. It is brilliant racing between these two, but eventually the Rebel driver has to yield, and Keke stays in P9. 7 positions gained so far since the opening lap. But at the front end, it is Polimachi and Alba still leading the way in first and second. Nick in P3 within DRS range, and it's already 2 seconds now towards Matteo Manga, but he was getting held up a little bit there behind the Sauber of Wards, who's dropped down to P5. Thiago in the Alpine in P6, ahead of Philip and the 2 Williams, P8 and P9.
Like you said, on the second lap, both Red Bull drivers having damage, and that's the story so far as well. I remember back in the Austrian Grand Prix with that Constantino effect, but I think Papine took out Jeroen Visser, and Bobby lost his wing, and Nick somewhere lost his wing as well. So I'm not quite sure how both Red Bull drivers keep losing their plate. And that's cost Nick dearly too, because he's outside the DRS range, the important DRS range, which might enable Matteo Manga to get back in Nick's DRS range and take him off for 3rd place. By the way, this is one of the strongest drives Matteo Manga has had this season as well in P4. I know it's early stages, but in a good rhythm so far in P4. And he knows he's got some more downforce in the car as well, as Nick is losing their place. So he's out of DRS range. Now it's down towards the 2 Italian drivers in 1st and 2nd place. Now, 2nd place of Alb in P2 is a reserve driver, and it's his first race here in PSGL this season. Polimachi in the Haas, who is down in P21, and he hasn't scored a lot of points as well. He's been outside the top 10 majority of times as well. He's had the pace, but unfortunately not the internet as well. So I really hope that there is no internet connection issues for Polimachi, because he deserves it, so does Luke, but somehow he just got unlucky from time to time. Nick is trying to get back into DRS range, but it's super difficult. But he is back in DRS range, but for how much longer? Because obviously he's going to use a lot of battery to try and get himself closer towards the top 2. but in the first and last sector, that's where he'll lack downforce and therefore lose the DRS once again. So that's been the main storyline this season between both Red Bull drivers of Nick and Bob, just losing their place. Back in Silverstone, Nick was winning the P3, remember? Then towards the end, the tyre wear just got too high for him and he dropped off automatically, where Pepine took advantage and finished in P3 round. Nick unfortunately finished outside the top 3 on that day as well. But both Red Bull drivers have strong pace, but somehow keep losing their end place, so they can't keep their noses clean for the time being. However, Wards in P5 is doing a good job too, despite the damage he has on that kick Sauber. And like I said, as well, that contact in towards turn 1, we couldn't quite see how much space was given between the two. Should there be more space? But that's down towards the stewards as well to decide what's going to happen in towards turn 1. But the damage is done right now. Let's focus on the race. And Thiago has overtaken him for P5, goes up into P5 in the Alpine, and great pass for him as well. As we head down in towards the breaker zone we go. So Wards is under massive pressure with the lack of downforce he has on the car, and Nick is dropping away from the DRS range. Mattia Manga is catching up as well. He's 1.2 seconds behind, so watch out for him. The battle for P3 could be on very soon between 3rd and 4th place.
Indeed, the Aston Martin is closing the gap down to 1.26. The entire top 4 right now in this race has never stood on the podium this season in PSGL, which is great to think about, especially when you know Podemachi has been quite quick this season, but he has a Mercedes to deal with in the forms of Albert behind. As we go on to lap 5, the gap is 0.7 of a second between the two. Albert at the moment doesn't look like he wants to challenge the Haas driver right now at this stage of this race. Nick in P3, and the gap towards Mattia Manga is now under 1 second. And we know that Mattia Manga lost the spin behind. Ward has been hit from behind. Did he make contact with Lars van Linden as he rejoins into the path of the McLaren, and the Sauber is out of this race. Ward has crashed out. The virtual safety car has been deployed. What on earth happened there through turn 1?
So Lars van der Linden made a move on his teammate, or was it Bob? I'm not quite sure, but he made a move. He outbroke himself and spun the Sauber around, and unfortunately McLaren was involved too. I think it was Dome he made a lunge on. A lunge on. Sorry, I said it right the first time, and just spun him around and made contact. There was no ghosting either, and what a shame it was, because that's another DNF added towards his tally. And considering that Stefano, Luke, and also Artem is not here tonight, he's currently P4 in the championship and could take away, as Dome gets a drive to penalty for speed on the VSC. We get racing once again then, folks, so watch out for these reactions as well. Let's see if anybody takes advantage of the drivers ahead, as Diogo Silva is down towards P10, so unfortunately got caught lacking there under this VSC, as the Alpine is up the inside in towards turn 12, as Bolpia and the Williams goes off the track. Remember, Lars van der Linden has full mid damage. A lot of people in this race have damage. Keke is up into P6 from P16, and look at Diogo Silva's under massive pressure with the Alpine on the inside, the RB on the outside, Bolpia down the inside. There's loads of battles going on here, with 3 abreast, with 3 wide in towards turn 15, and they make contact too, for good measure, as they barge each other. Diogo Silva is in the middle, and he still stays ahead. He's up into P9 despite being under massive pressure, as there was 2 people on the outside inside, and he still remains in P9 as well. Bolpia tried to move up the inside of Lars van der Linden, I think, in towards turn 15. But yeah, a lot of battles going on. Philip is in the pit lane too. Is that damage? Let's have a look to see if that's damage on the Mercedes, as we see the mechanics rushing out for a brand new set of tyres and maybe potentially a front wing damage. Yes, it is. So loads of people in this race are missing them plates, which is quite bizarre.
Yeah, indeed, it was a chaotic previous lap there, and at the moment, at the safety car restart, Podemachi has almost put a gap over a second towards Albon. In fact, he has. As we come out of the first sector, the gap is 1.1 between the Haas and the Mercedes. This can be quite significant for this race, as he can now try and start to build a gap towards the car behind, because Albon will not have the DRS like he used to on the previous lap. The gap towards Nick in P3 is 4.5 seconds, but Mattia Manga is right behind the Red Bull driver and will have the DRS as we go down to the back straight. And is Mattia Manga going to try and have a go at the Red Bull? Is there anything Nick can do to defend? He is not going to defend, and Mattia Manga goes to the inside, and he is going to steal that way, that final spot on the podium at the moment. Nick is going to have to switch back. He will lift the outside line for third 13. He's still going to have a go around the outside, knowing he will have the inside line if he sticks it around the outside, and he does. And Nick very late on the brakes, deep into the corner. Now Mattia Manga will try to have a switchback. He's going to have the outside line for the triple right-hander. Nick is still there on the inside, and Mattia Manga is unable to go for the move yet, still having his nose in. He knows if we're going to go will to will into the penultimate corner. Surely not. Nick all the way around the outside, maintains his position, great defensive driving from Red Bull, and he stays in P3, but for how much longer? Look at the gap is growing towards the cars ahead. Polimachi is gaining away from Albert. Here comes the Omega once again with the DRS, pulls to the inside, and this time he is going to have the position already as Nick switches to the inside, dives down the inside in towards turn 1. Bit of contact on the exit. Is the damage for the Aston Martin? It doesn't seem to be, but Nick getting his elbows out and he's back up at the P3. No one wanted to give this fight up. And we're only on lap 7 of this race, still 21 to go after this one. And Mattia Manga has to stay in P4 right now. And after all of that, Thiago in the Alpine, he's closed the gap as well towards these guys. It's under 5/10 of a second. And Keke is closing the gap slowly but surely as well. So the gap, or the fight for the final spot on the podium is going to grow amongst these guys. As Lars van Linden will be closing the gap as well, of course. But he's got that front wing damage. And now he's got a bit of a train behind him as well with Boompje and Diogo Silva. Boompje with front wing damage as well since the opening lap. But Mattia Manga once again is going to have a go at the Red Bull driver who's flashing the rear lights, not have any much battery there. And this time it seems to be that Mattia Manga is going to take that position finally, and he does. So Mattia Manga up into the P3, but he outbrakes himself too much there in towards turn 12. And that is going to allow Nick to go around the outside. Almost contact between the two again as we fight it up once more. And there's contact between the Aston Martin, who's going to now switch to the inside once more. What a fight between these two. Nick on the outside. It was the other way around on the previous lap, but Mattia Manga still can't find a way past Nick, who is putting up an incredible defensive fight in this race, and he stays in P3.
What a mighty fight we're seeing. 2 laps in a row as well between the two drivers fighting for third place. And this has invited the likes of Thiago behind, and Keke as well in the Williams. Keke from P16 up in towards P6 as we head down in towards turn 1. Lars gets a penalty for speed in the pit lane as we head towards turn 1. As we see Mattia once again on the inside. But can Nick do a switchback, have a better exit? This time, I don't think he can. And the battle has ended. Finally, Mattia Manga has got past. And it took him longer than expected too, because he's up now to P3, and plus, if he overtook Nick on the previous 2 laps, that would mean he had the DRS over Keke and Thiago behind as well. But unfortunately, it's taken him too long. You've got a train out behind too. But credibility to Nick as well. With that damage from wing, with a bruised car, he still managed to go side by side and chuck up the inside towards turn 1. Defend like crazy as well. That was beautiful racing between the top 2. Hard, but fair racing on the absolute edge, which is what we want to see in League Racing 2. But I think Nick is becoming under massive pressure too, because this is the stage where the tyre life seems to dissipate, unfortunately, and this is well affected too, especially with the damage as well. The left front tyre is taking a lot of punishment in the high-speed corners as we see him defending from the Alpine up the inside in towards turn 12. Can he get ahead? He can, but might go a bit wide where Nick can do a switchback and get a better exit as we head towards turn 13. Nick very aggressive on the turn in there, knowing that he's got damage and has to flick it in to get the car rotated, and now up the inside in towards turn 15 we go, and he makes contact as well, but no damage done between the two there. This is going to be frustrating for Thiago P5 because he's fighting for a podium. He wants to focus on Mattia, but the Red Bull is all the way around the outside and he stays ahead. That's going to frustrate him, but he goes off the track and Thiago behind surely gets past. Does he? No, he doesn't. He stays behind as well. So Nick is defending for his life here as well, trying to put the guys, trying to get Bobby closer towards him as we now see the Alpine go past. And what about Keke behind too? Keke is now up to P5 ahead of the Red Bull driver, and the Red Bull keeps dropping down as we head through turn 1 between Keke and the Alpine, who goes a bit deeper towards turn 1 but scoops up and stays in the middle of the track. This is a great battle, a great tussle by the way, but there's a bit of a field spread now going on between first, second and third. They've been spread out as well after a few drivers sustaining damage, and some people have been taken out of the equation too. And it looks like Polimachi has got a good gap of 1.6 seconds, but he can't afford to relax just yet because there's still a long way to go. And let's see if Alp can respond. Keke a bit squirrely in the exit of turn 11 and turn 12. Massive wheel spin there too for good measure. Does Keke have the pace? Try to get himself on the podium. P16 to P3. And who did that in USA? Was it Max Verstappen in 2018 or 17 when he started at the back? And he went from P16 to P3 with the engine penalties as well. I think it was 2018 because Hamilton was fighting for championship and he couldn't get past Verstappen on that day, and Raikkonen finished in first place. So can Keke do a 16th to third? That could be in the equation still, and the gap's not too far away from the man in third place in the Aston Martin. So watch out for Keke in the series of Grand Prix. He won in Silverstone, of course, this season, and he has a chance to finish on the podium for the first time, or second time as well, as Mattia Manga is still searching for his first win of the season. He hasn't got one just yet. He's had multiple top 10 finishes, but still yet to see the podium. He's currently sat in P3, but The LP driver is catching up behind him. The gap is 1.2, and so is Keke in P5. And Nick won't be a threat with that front wing damage as well. And let's see, Nick is in the pit lane to get rid of that damage too. So finally in the pit lane, Nick gets a penalty. Unfortunately, it's such an easy thing to do around here in USA, and that's the second driver who has picked up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Very unfortunate there, and that is going to ruin his chances of getting a good result out there. Did he even replace his front wing? I'm not sure. No, he didn't. So he's going to go out there still with that front wing damage. I'm not sure if that was planned or he just wants to not lose that much position, that much time in the pit lane. He comes out in P10 with that 10-second time, but it's going to right ahead there of Vessel, who has pitted a few laps ago in the Ferrari, who has got company from Philip from behind in the Mercedes. But early pit stop there from Nick, trying to go for an undercut, but of course that's not going to work now with that 10-second time penalty. But at the front, Polimachi is extending his lead to over 2 seconds now towards Alp in the Mercedes. The gap's then 8 seconds towards Mattia Manga. The good news for him though was that it took Thiago and Keke a while to get past the Red Bull driver, which has saw the gap grow to over 1 second, but it's coming down again as Thiago is closing the gap. 1.2 seconds it has been, as Diogo Silva is going to get past Boompje, the McLaren driver in P6, but unfortunately with that 10-second time penalty, it is going to be difficult to get a good result as well for him. The McLaren driver in P14 in the championship. The best result this season was P7, currently running in P6, but of course that penalty is going to hurt his chance of finishing in such good position. But at the front, it is Al pulling into the pit lane and trying to go for the undercut, but he picks up a 10-second time penalty as well. And well, that is giving a clear route there for Podemachi to go on to win this race, because the gap towards Mattia Manga is like 10 seconds. He's pulling into the pit lane as well in the Aston Martin. So is Thiago and Keke all pulling into the pit lane. Lucas continues on in the other Alpine, and so does Napel in the Kick Sauber. So Alp is going to come out in relative clear air, as he's got around 3 seconds towards Napel, but a 10-second time penalty. Not the first driver to do so. And now all that Podemachi has to do in this race is not get a 10-second time penalty himself when he makes his pit stop probably at the end of this lap, trying to cover off the Mercedes driver. And if there's no safety car, then Podemachi has a real good chance of winning this race, the man 21st in the championship. But Nick, because of his undercut, has got out ahead, back ahead of Thiago and Keke, to real frustration to both of these drivers. And Nick is also within DRS range right now of Mattia Manga, but the Aston Martin is going to have the better speed through the first sector, and the gap has grown to just over 1 second again. But Thiago and Keke are going to have to do it all over again to try and get past the Red Bull driver. But I think Podemachi is going to be coming into the pit lane as well, as the McLaren driver of Dome picks up a 3-second time penalty down in P15. We saw him have that collision earlier on with Warts in turn 1. He got damage from that, had to pit, and unfortunately he's down in P15. Bit of a misadjustment there from Podemachi, but he is going to pull into the pit lane. All he has to do is not speed into the pit lane. Let's see how he's going to manage that, and he does so very nicely indeed. So the Haas driver pulls into the pit lane after 11 laps on the mediums to switch on to the hards. Now the question will be, is he going to come out ahead of Alp still, or will the undercut be too powerful and see the Mercedes ahead of the Haas? Nepal pulls into the pit lane as well. Lucas is going to stay out for yet another lap as he goes on to lap 12. But Podemachi comes out of the pit exit. Where is the Mercedes to the right hand side? He is still behind, in fact. The gap was around 2 seconds when they pitted, as Lucas is in between the two, which is great news for Podemachi, but he has maintained track position, still in the lead of this race, and his closest competitor got a 10-second time penalty.
All Podemachi needs to do now is keep it nice and tidy towards the end. There is absolutely no need to put what there is, but no need to explore the track limits like Lucas has just done right now on the old midi compound tyres. He's just picked up a track limit violation. He's on old midi compound tyres. Alp is desperate to get past. You know what? Despite a 10-second time penalty for Alp, he could still end up on the podium here as well. What's the gap behind him? It's like 9.1 towards Alp, Mattia Mango P4, and Nick has also got a 10-second time penalty as well for good measure. So there it is. There's your penalties. And Alp could still be in the podium here. And if he does end up on the podium here tonight, then that is going to be a spectacular debut for him. But here comes Lucas down the inside. Oh, no! Don't make contact. And there is contact as well between the two. Lucas squeezed his way down the inside, and I don't know why he tried to do that, because he's on old tyres, old mini compound tyres, and there is no need to risk that whatsoever. I'm so glad that neither driver went towards the spin, but what it has done has brought the gap down. 7.6 now is between Mattia Manga and Lucas and Alp 2 for good measure. So a bit unnecessary there, maybe help it. You know what? It could help out Thiago P6, but yeah, you don't want to see things like that either. As Lucas is now in the pit lane as he gets off those really compound tyres, as Polymachi then leads this Grand Prix, as Lucas gets a 10-second time penalty for speed in the pit lane. Loads of people in this race have picked up penalties as well. Dome has just retired in P15. The Italian driver unfortunately out of the Grand Prix after making contact in towards turn 1 and loses his end plate to a good measure. But Alp, I really hope he does get the podium too, because he deserves it after such a good race so far in P2. Pulling away from Mattia Manga and Nick in P3 and P4, he may have to battle for P2 still between Mattia Manga. So it's a battle for P2 between Mattia Manga and Alb, but behind him is ILT Nick and Thiago P5 and Keke as well P6, right behind the Red Bull driver. You got to give credit for Nick, despite having front wing damage for the whole race, is still competing at a high pace. Vessel's got a penalty in the race for picking up a multiple warning infringement, and he used up all of his good luck too. As we head down in towards turn 11, can Thiago get past Nick finally and focus on Mattia Manga? The gap's got up to 8.4, so Alb is also making time on Mattia Manga in P3. The DRS is wide open, and can the RP driver find a way past and dispose the Red Bull and finally get ahead of him? Yes, he can. He goes up in towards, not yet though, the side by side in towards turn 12 as Nick goes off the track, but still fighting the exit. Down the inside he goes in towards the next corner, stays ahead of the RP driver. Surely with better traction, can the RP driver find a way past? Coming through turn 15 with a better downforce, a better grip on the car. No, he can't. Still behind him. So this must be so frustrating. And this is allowing, well, Nick gets a penalty for corner cutting. That must be at turn 12 when he went off the track and got ahead. So he's picking up penalties here. It's a 20-second time penalty for Nick. He feels like he got forced off by the Alpine, but the Alpine will have to try and find another way past him as well as we exit the final corner. DRS wide open. Nick is off the track there in a bizarre way and gets a 3-second penalty, and it goes up into P4 as the Alpine. I think Nick's had enough. I think he's absolutely furious with this race, the way it has gone. But the Alpine now breaks himself in towards turn 1, and that's the last thing he needs. Nick alongside him, and he finally gets ahead. He finally gets ahead and puts himself up to P4. And now finally the LP driver can focus and get Mattia Manga for the battle for P3. By the way, Mattia Manga is 9 seconds behind, so it was 7.6, now it's 9.1, so that's 1 second gained between Alb and Mattia Manga. Alb is making sure he gets on the podium in this Grand Prix, despite having a 10-second penalty, and he's doing such a good job so far in this race to get a podium too. We're halfway in towards this Grand Prix, and Polymachi is on for a win if everything goes his way.
Now it is up to Keke to get past the Red Bull driver, but he still has got that DRS. It's been a disastrous day so far for both Red Bulls. Actually, Bonepi's down in P11 outside the points as well with a penalty, and then Nick now with a 23-second time penalty, though he might appeal that 10-second penalty that he just got on the previous lap whilst trying to fight it out with Thiago. But at the moment he has got to deal with the Williams behind Keke on his great comeback drive from last on the grid. Currently in a hunt for P5 in this race. Well, I'm sure he's going to finish in P5 anyway because Nick's 23-second time penalty, but he wants to get by as quickly as possible to still be in the fight for the final spot on the podium with Thiago and Mattia Manga. But at the moment Nick is doing just enough to stay within DRS range, which is going to help him try and fend off the Williams from behind. At the front end, Polymachi has got now a 3-second gap towards Alp, who has lost quite a bit of time with that moment a few laps ago with the Alpine of Lucas as Vessel pulls into the pit lane after 13 laps on his hard. He put it on the second lap then, and he is going to have to go again for another pit stop in this race to go to the mediums to try and make it towards the end. But Keke, he is closing the gap, and he wants to hope that Nick is going to get out of the DRS range in this sector. The first sector is going to be incredibly tricky with that front wing damage, and now the gap has grown to over 1 second between Thiago and Nick. Now Keke can try and find a way past potentially, but the gap is 4 5 tenths of a second. Red Bull, who just got under 1 second, picked up the DRS. No, he hasn't, but I think he's doing just enough to stay ahead of the Williams, at least for this lap. Although Keke is closing the gap rapidly down towards the braking zone of turn 12. But Nick is staying ahead for now as the other Red Bull is finding himself inside the top 10. He's just crossed past Philip and now is up at the P9. Now at the back there of Lars van der Linden. Both of these drivers having front wing damage. Lars van der Linden down in P8 and Boompje following closely in P9. Looking to find a way past potentially with the 3 tire advantage, switches to the inside, but of a moment there for Lars van der Linden on the exit of turn 14, and Boompje gets past there In the background, Lucas fights it out with Philip, but Bumpy now up to P8. So a good drive regardless of his front wing damage. Lucas and Philip going wheel to wheel, and the Alpine is going to go sailing around the outside of the Mercedes and finds himself back inside the top 10 and trying to chase after the two cars in front. But Lucas, of course, he's got that front wing damage, as Philip is going to pull into the pit lane after only 9 laps on the hards. He was the one who picked up front wing damage as well with that incident between Wards in turn 1, which is why he's going to have to make a second pit stop. But back to the fight between Keke and Nick. It is 0.3 of a second right now, so the Williams driver might have a go onto the back straight in a moment time. He is currently down in P6. The gap between Thiago and Nick is now 1.5 seconds, and Thiago is not really gaining on Mattia Manga. The gap was around 1.8 seconds for the past few laps, and it is stayed like that. And Mattia Manga, he is close to getting outside of that 10-second window though towards Alp. It's now 9.6, so a few more tenths gained for the Mercedes driver. But Keke now, with the help of DRS, Slipstream and ERS, is going to try and get past Nick, and there's nothing the Red Bull driver can do as the Williams driver sails past, and Keke is now up to P5 and can try and chase after the Alpine.
Sinking fin in there for Nicky P6, just can't do anything with that damage. And same for Lars van der Linden as Lucas goes up to P9. He's on the better hardcore power tyres, remember, as well, down to P9. So watch him make his way through the field. Bob Pierce, the next car. He should be easy pickings without front wing damage in front of us. Then next is Boyo Lulu in P7. We haven't really spoken much about him so far. Started at P10, up into P7, kept his nose clean as well, unlike others who have lost a bit of their own place as well, behind and in front of him. But Nick is his next target. The gap is 5.2, so maybe P6 obviously is going to be P6 because Nick has got a 23-second penalty for speed in the pit lane, going off the track as well, as he gained 1 place and also picking up Challenge 1 and 2. So he's used a lot of infringements in this Grand Prix as well for good measure. Lap 17 out of 28 so far, and this has been a dream race for Polimachi in first place. Here he is in the Haas. We've known him this season who has good pace, but unfortunately just left the session due to internet connection issues, but finally sorted it out. And this should have been the season for Polimachi in first place, where he is right now with the pace he's had. Both Haases have always delivered some good pace, but unfortunately just bad luck has spoon their way. But are we going to break the curse? And funnily enough as well, the first switch for Haas potentially is coming from Polimachi, not Luke. But who's gone through a spin down there in the first set or a slight mistake? Who was it? Not quite sure. There was a brief yellow flag. So who's lost a bit of time towards somebody? Is it Nick in P6? Because, yeah, it is, because the gap was like 5 seconds at one point. Now it's 1.2. So I think Nick has had a bit of a moment out of turn. I think 9 and 10 there, so he's lost a lot of time. And Boyo Lulu is 1 second behind as well, so Nick continues to struggle as we see Napoli in the background put Saba up into P10, and there he is. Then he goes through after not competing back in Qatar after leaving, because obviously he didn't stall on the grid, he didn't leave the grid because he wasn't there, and unfortunately Mattia Manga made contact with him. But have you noticed something as well? Thiago, who was like 2 seconds behind, has caught up to Mattia Manga then. So Mattia Manga, who looked comfortably in P3 for a few laps, has now seen an Alpine right behind him, and the battle for P3 is on. Mattia Manga has lost time towards Alb as well, so Alb could be cemented and solidified into P2, with 10 laps left to go. So P2 is his, despite a 10-second penalty. The only way this race for him can be ruined is a safety car, because, well, if he pits again, he gets rid of his 10-second penalty, and on a different set of compound tyres as well, as Boyo Lulu goes up into P6, and the Alpine and Lucas is side by side with Bompia as we streak through turn to return through. Is the Alpine going to force his way up the inside? Contact is made, and Lucas has to back out as Bompia goes off the track there. Neither driver willing to yield, of course, and of course, if you go side by side to the first sector, you're guaranteed to go off the track or make contact. But Lucas on a better tyre, desperate to get past Bompia, but those two make contact in towards turn 3 and 4, and the Alpine driver is right behind the Aston Martin. He has the DRS on the back of him, but can he make a move going down in towards turn 12? Too far back on this occasion to make a move, but there's 10 laps left to go, so he's got his options open on the table, and let's see when he decides to strike for P3. The battle for P3 is on for the final spot of the podium. Here comes Nick down the inside of Boyo Lulu. Here comes Bompia down the inside of Lucas as he defends from Lucas, but Lucas sticks his nose in there and has the inside line in towards the next corner. Bompia trying to stick it all the way on the outside. Continue this battle in towards turn 15. And let's see if Lucas can finally make the move on the Red Bull driver. No, he can't, because Bompia's still there, but Lucas with the better exit on the outside. Massive wheel spin on the curb. The side by side, but surely Lucas shoved this covered because Bompia is still there. still there and has the inside line going in towards turn 21. And this, Lucas goes off the track there too for good measure. Danny said he goes in towards the last corner, but Bompia slides to the final corner. Lucas can't get past still, and he's so frustrated on the back of the Red Bull driver. They're desperate to get past, but the Red Bull defending for all of his might as we head down in towards turn 1. Here comes the RB on the inside of the Red Bull. Here comes, contact is made between Lucas and Bompia. They're literally banging wheels like Raikkonen and Alonso did back in 2021. As we see the Red Bull drivers stay ahead again for the time being, so Lucas can't find a way past. Both Red Bull drivers have been absolutely mighty in their defence as well. They're just so difficult to get past despite both of them having a broken front wing. And Boyolulu is trying desperately to get past Nick as well in P6 as Lucas goes off the track once again. So maybe a channel violation for him could be inserted as we head down in towards turn 11. And let's see then, can Boyolulu get past Nick as well? The two Red Bull drivers have been so good in the defence, and Thiago goes up into P3, but outbreaks so Mattia Manga gets a better exit as we head down in towards turn 12. Mattia Manga stays ahead for the time being then, but can the Alpine, will he do a switch back down the inside in towards turn 15? No, because Mattia Manga is very clever and he defends the inside line there, blocking the attack from Thiago behind in P4. But Keke, if these two continue to squabble, Keke could be the fight for the podium too. With 8 laps left to go in the Grand Prix, Nick once again fighting out with the Red Bull driver as the RB forces the Red Bull off the track as Nick gets a 3-second time to the same place where Verstappen overtook Raikkonen in 2017 for P3 as Nick goes around the outside and claims P6. This has been a mighty race so far from the Red Bull drivers, absolutely brutal and relentless in their defence as well. It must be so frustrating for the drivers behind. And Napol's caught up too for P10. Napol does not have a penalty in this Grand Prix. Here comes the Racing Bull again on the inside towards turn 1. The Red Bull goes defensive, forcing the contact between these two again. And here comes Bompia. It's 3 abreast. The RB is sandwiched with the junior team. And there comes the Red Bull of Nick down the inside too. Bompia's up into P6 then. Boyolulu is getting absolutely frustrated with the Red Bull drivers. The senior team not playing fair with the junior team, of course, in Racing Bull, but Bompia is up to P6, Boyolulu stays in P7, and Nick has been demoted into P8 there, so he's lost 2 places towards his teammates and Boyolulu, and Lucas is still there in P9, can't find a way past. Now he's got one more Red Bull driver in front of him, which is Nick, not Bompia this time, as we head down towards turn 11. So the Red Bull drivers becoming a bit of a menace around here in Kota. They've both lost their end plates, despite pitting, haven't changed it, and once again these guys have the DRS on the back of each other as we head down in towards the breaker. So here comes Lucas crawling the back of the Red Bull drivers. We head down towards the breaker. So can he make a smooth stick? He failed it on Bompia. Contact again, and has Lucas, yes he has, Lucas has got a broken end plate, made contact on the back of the Red Bull driver, or RB sorry, but there's more contact between the two, and look at that, in front of us, Bompia and Boyolulu going side by side. Boyolulu can't get past. Can Lucas get past the Red Bull and Nick? He goes off the track, as has massive wheel spin there, loses grip, and still can't get past. This has been a mighty battle between these guys, and Lucas there suffering a massive understeer.
Yeah, these Red Bulls are getting feisty in their defenses over the last 2 laps, especially. Now Napol has gained a position through that. He's up to P9 as Mattia Manga and Thiago go fight out once again, and the Alpine goes way too deep in towards turn 1. And now Mattia Manga is back through, but look who has joined this fight. Keke is now within DRS range as well of these guys, but the fight there from P6 downwards towards P10 has been incredible over the past few. Well, incredible in one way at least. It's been entertaining, let's put it that way. But both Red Bulls getting very feisty in their defense, especially over the last few laps. Bompy now in P6, and Boyolulu is going to try and find a way past as he is trying to grow the gap towards Nick as well. 0.7 of a second. Napol will try to get past as soon as possible as well. Napol is on for maybe a very good result tonight as Nick goes off track. And once again there, Lucas in P10 now with that front wing damage. His race has been ruined as well there a little bit. But we focus back on the fight there between Bompia and Boyolulu. The gap is now 0.7 of a second. Despite the Red Bull having front wing damage, he's still able to gap the RB a little bit there. But Napol now having the slipstream pull steal alongside, and Napol is getting ahead there of Nick with relative ease, it must be said. He is now up at the P9. Lars Lindens had a moment in the background. He has spun around, it seems, down to P14. Not sure what happened to the Williams driver, but the kick is up at the P8 and can now try and chase after the RB and Red Bull just ahead of him. So Lucas once again is going to have to deal with Nick. These two have been getting their elbows out over the last few laps, and the fight is looking to resume on the following few laps. We're on to lap 22 of 28, 7 laps to go. Polimachi still has a comfortable lead towards Alp in P2. The gap's now almost 5.5 seconds between those two, and Alp's second place is pretty much confirmed as well, because the gap's now 14 seconds towards Mattia Maggi. He can even afford a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and he would still be safe for that P2 position. But the fight for the final spot on the podium is not over yet. In fact, it is brewing right now with a couple of laps to go. Thiago is within 3 seconds. We have seen him try and go for the move over the past few laps, but it has been unsuccessful on both occasions. And now Keke has joined that fight. Another 3-second time penalty for Nick. He's around, well, 29 seconds time penalty. If he gets any more, probably he's going to get disqualified at some point in this race. Really disastrous race for him tonight. But Thiago once again following the path of the Aston Martin, weaving left to right. But is there anything he can do to defend? He is going to go for a gap that almost isn't there. Thiago up the inside in towards turn 12. This time though, he does get it stopped in time. Thiago tries to go for the switchback, but he doesn't quite get the traction right. And now the Alpine has finally found a way past the Aston Martin. But Mattia Manga is going to try and switch to the inside once again. Bit of contact on the apex as he bars the Alpine out of the way there. And Mattia Manga, because of that, is now back up into P3. Thiago still has his nose on the inside. He knows going with the into the penultimate corner is not going to work out, and he doesn't. And he is going to have to back off once again and finds himself staring at the back of the Aston Martin like he has been over the past 10 laps at least, between Mattia Manga and Thiago. But he's once again very close to the back as we enter the start-finish straight. Mattia Manga almost fully to the inside of the track, covering off. But Thiago is going to try and go a long way around the outside in towards turn 1. Mattia Manga has the inside line way on late on the brakes. Goes the Alpine, and Mattia Manga still finds himself ahead of the Alpine and is back up into P3. What a fight between these two for the final spot on the podium.
And Keke is just standing in the background there waiting for something to happen. Maybe if these two tangle with each other, Keke could go through and go over to P3. So maybe he's waiting for that chance, but still waiting patiently at P5 to see if anything happens between Thiago and Mattia Manga. Both drivers have been getting their elbows out as well. Every single driver as well been getting their elbows out in this race. It's been a lot of bumping and drafting in this Grand Prix too, for good measure. A lot of people losing their end plates and somehow bumping into P6 with a broken end plate too. Defending for Boyolulu, Napol and Lucas, while Nick keeps dropping backwards and in the clutches of Diogo Silva. But once again, we saw that Diogo Silva went all the way to the inside, but this time it's the outside. Larsa spun as we head towards turn 12. We go on the outside goes Diogo, late braking skills, but Mattia Manga stood on the inside. Contact is made between the two, obviously, as they bump wheels. But this time, can Mattia Manga do the switchback as we see side by side? Once again, this has been an epic battle. This is what I love about this track, because he always alters lines from turn 12 all the way down towards turn 15, always change directions and can switch lines as well. This is why I love this track so much. It's been so good for Bowland. First introduced in 2012, of course, Lewis Hamilton took a victory, and Napol and Nick, and Napol gets a 3-second penalty, but this is Lucas and Nick. Nick goes up the inside, Nick up into P9 ahead of Lucas. Do you know what? Lucas on the better tyres are these lots. Can't make an overtake. He's on the youngest tyres in the top 10 and still can't find a way past Nick. He must be so frustrated because he's been stuck behind one Red Bull in this Grand Prix and now he's stuck behind Nick, the second Red Bull. He must be so frustrated with the Red Bull's defence there as well. And we're coming towards the closest stage of the Grand Prix. There is 4 laps left to go, and Polimachi, this has been an absolute dream for the American team in Haas there in first place. 4 laps left to go, and he controls this race beautifully. We said it every single race, we're waiting for Luke to win the Grand Prix in the Haas, but his teammate is about to win. Hopefully there's no such curse with the internet connection issue. Imagine that if he has internet problems in the final few laps of the Grand Prix. That would be a massive curse, because he's done a lot of good work in this Grand Prix, and for it to be ruined like that, it's going to be a massive shame for him. But here we go, Keke is right behind Mattia Manga then, with the DRS wide open once again as we head down in towards the breaker zone. Keke is right to the back of the Aston Martin. Will he make a move? Is this the time to strike for Keke? No, here comes the Aston Martin down the inside. It's so tight there. Contact has made, barely made contact, but luckily nobody tangled, nobody spun. Oh, aggressive down the inside. He does a Sebastian Vettel, spun around and he spun. That was super aggressive on the brakes there. I'm not quite sure why he decided to go for that move, because he wasn't alongside, and I think Thiago didn't. I don't think he did anything wrong, because I don't think I expected him to go down the inside. But Nick and Lucas now again swap places. That was a big chance for Mattia Manga to get a podium in the Grand Prix, but it's been ruined this time. He started to P5, we finished before as well in the last 2 races, as we see Nick and Lucas wants wheel to wheel once again. Nick stays ahead and he stays up into P9. His tyres up into getting so old as well. Polimachi, well, it doesn't really matter anyway, because Alb has got a 10-second penalty behind him, so it doesn't really matter for him unless it's a safety car. Then I think Thiago and Keke will get the win. But there is 3 laps left to go. Polymacci doesn't have to risk anything. Just bring it home. Don't make any mistakes because it can still bite you back with safety cars. Although we're coming towards the window where the safety cars will no longer be active because we're running out of time for those as well. So he should be safe. Polymacci if anything happens in the Grand Prix. But the battle for P3 now is between Keke and Thiago in P3. Keke, who started at P16 after a difficult qualifying, is up into P4. Kept his nose clean for the whole race, but Lars van der Linden made contact with a few people and broke his head plate too for good measure. Both drivers are on the podium as Thiago's first race of the season here in PSGL F3. Whilst Keke's gone from P16 to P4. So both drivers are at the podium, but there's only one more spot left because Alp is too far up the road in P2 with a 15.4 second gap despite a 10-second penalty added to his name. There he is with the penalty situation, 10 seconds for P2. But yeah, there's one more spot on the podium left, and which one will it be? Will it be Keke or will it be Thiago? We're about to find out in the next 3 laps of the Grand Prix. Both drivers have done such a great job so far. However, Keke is losing touch towards Thiago, although he has to bring the gap back down because of that contact with Mattia Mangi. He had to take up on action, so that's why he lost a bit of time towards Thiago. But still, he's in the DRS range, and can he get closer now towards the back of the LP driver? Can the LP driver defend? We're about to find out. We're on lap 26 out of 28, and so far, Polymacci has controlled this race. He broke the DRS when the VSC was deployed, or should I say, the VSC ended, and he broke the DRS towards Alp. Alp, who had a 10-second penalty for speeding the pit lane, still broke the gap towards Thiago in P3 and still controlled his race, booted for his side as well in P2 on his debut here in the PSGL F3 so far. But this is the closest part of the track so far. Boyolulu is still in the back of IRT Bompia, and Bompia has done a mighty job considering where he started as well. And Lucas and Nick again swapping places. Look at this battle going on between P9 downwards. Diego Silva's there, Vessel's there, Philip is there as well, and so is Nick and Lucas. So this is a 5-way fight for P9 here as well. With Diogo Silva hasn't got a penalty in this Grand Prix, so he might move up a few spots here as well with this mighty battle. But Lucas has finally got ahead of Nick, but a bit too late because Lucas was right behind Napoli, Boyolulu and Bompia. But he spent so much time behind Nick, he's lost so much time as well, and unfortunately can't catch up. But here comes Mercedes down the inside into towards turn 11. Can he make it stick? He can. That's Philip on Vessel on the old midi compound tyres, and Mercedes wins in that battle for the time being. But keep an eye on P3 and P4 because they're super close as well, as we now see these guys down the straights. Anybody looking to make a move down the inside into towards turn 12? The Mercedes right to the back of McLaren there, but McLaren goes defensive, can't find a way past, and he stays behind him for the time being. Then we're on the principal lap of the Grand Prix, and the battle for P3 is pretty much brewing between P3 and P4 Milan.
Indeed, and Thiago and Keke separated by under 0.4 of a second. Keke is closing that gap. Does he want to wait until the final lap to go for the move? That is the question. But Manga in P5, I'm not sure why he made that move. If you would obstacle, it was never going to stick really, and that has costed him a chance of getting onto the podium. And he's going to have to settle for a P5 finish. So it will be another P5, like it has been. So it's going to be 2 P7s, 2 P6s, 2 P11s, and probably 2 P5s. So it's meant to be apparently for the Aston Martin driver. Unfortunately though, he was on the fight for the podium, but he is going to have to settle for what will be P5, probably Bompje in P6, but he will probably lose that position towards Boyolulu, who has kept it clean so far in this race without a track limit penalty. So Lucas picks up a 3-second time penalty, but what about his teammate? Can he defend against Keke? Does Keke want to go for the move on this lap? Or does he want to wait until the final lap? I think he does, because he's not pushing the battery. He's just going to stay within DRS range, as Diogo Silva, unfortunately, there picks up a 3-second time penalty. He was the only car in that train without a penalty, but now he picked up a penalty himself, so he's not going to have the advantage. Although Nick with his 29-second time penalty, of course he's going to get ahead of the Red Bull driver, who was dropped out of the DRS range almost of Lucas as well. It seems like he's finally cleared the Red Bull after like 3/4 of the race. He was fighting with him in the background. That is Philip going up the inside of Diogo Silva, but he outbreaks himself a little bit, and the McLaren driver is going to have the outside line for the next. A bit of contact between the two, and the Mercedes driver almost goes around as he barges into the side of the McLaren, but Diogo Silva stays ahead for now in P11, but his tires are 16 laps old. It's among the oldest drivers' tires on this field. Philip, with a 5-lap tire advantage, might be able to get past on the final lap. But we are on the final lap of this race. Polemachi is in the lead by 9 seconds towards Alp now, who has got another 15 seconds towards Thiago. But the battle is on between himself and Keke, although the gap has grown towards 7/10 of a second. So is the gap too big for Keke to try and do anything against the Alpine, who's got almost a full battery as well to defend against the Williams driver? I don't think there's anything Keke is going to be able to do against the Alpine, who can just deploy the battery all the way down the straight as there is yellow flags. Is there someone who ran out of fuel? Or was it just Lars Linde letting F1 by? It might have been Lars Linde in his, terrible afternoon, a terrible evening as well down in P14. As the McLaren release session. But Thiago is going to stay in P3 as there's nothing Keke can do to close the gap. So the Alpine will probably finish on the podium as there is another 3-second time, but it's for Nick for a good measure there.
What a story we're witnessing here in Austin. Polemachi, a driver who has shown flashes of raw pace all season long, but he's been played by bad luck here in PSGL. Here he is towards line. Polemachi wins his first race here at PSGL. What a fantastic race for him. Finally, luck is on his side. The sun is shining out for Polemachi in the Haas, as we see Alp finishing P2 with a 10-second penalty, but that won't matter for him because he'll stay in P2. Thiago, great drive from him as well to defend from Keke and Mattia Manga. Here he is towards the final corner on his debut here in F3. He will come around the final corner. He will finish in P3 ahead of Keke. Mattia Manga, P5 for the second time this season. 2 P7s, 2 P11s, 2 P5s. Unbelievable indeed from Mattia Manga. He keeps his part going for the time being. Boyolulu will finish in P6 ahead of Bob Pierre, Napol P8, Lucas P9 and Nick will finish in P10, but that depends on penalties though, because Nick will finish all the way down in P13 I believe, and he will finish in P13 then. What a race, what a story around here under the Texan sun. The Haas has won the home Grand Prix, finally get their first win of the season for Haas and for Polemachi too, after Luke tried so many times, but I think he'll be happy with his Italian colleague and his teammates as well. So you can see Haas get their first win, and look at the celebrations there as well for Polemachi. He finally gets his first win after all the bad luck. He's been absolutely plagued by the bad luck as well in the past few races, but finally the luck is changing around. Maybe a change of fortune for Haas as well in terms of the constructors. They may be far behind McLaren, but there's still quite a lot of races left to go this season. Maybe 5 left to go this during this season. But after the odds were against him, he takes his first ever victory here in F3 PSGL. So much frustration in the past few races. Probably demotivated, annoyed, frustrated. But this will be a landmark in his PSGL career. A statement driver that proves he belongs at the very top as well for Polemachi. Very happy for him indeed. And he deserves the race victory after everything he's been through as well. Kept it nice and controlled as well. So the whole race, never put a foot wrong. Other than that 3-second penalty, but that won't matter because he had a dominant drive. He finally gets his first win, and everything as well went his way.
Indeed, what a phenomenal performance from Polemachi. Absolutely flawless from start to finish. Well, maybe apart from that 3-second time penalty, but it didn't matter, like you said. But incredible drive from him. And Bernoulli almost got taken out at the start there by Wards as he was almost spun around, but he recovered from that. And he built a gap after the VSC ending, and he didn't look back. And it's, a very thoroughly deserved victory for Polemachi. A first win for him and for Haas this season, and I'm sure it will do the team great as well, picking up the maximum amount of points as he got the pole position point as well. So perfect weekend, or perfect evening for Polemachi, a phenomenal drive indeed, and what a race it has been, with plenty of battles, some better than others, some feisty defensive action we've seen from a few drivers, but regardless, it was a great race to watch, and I cannot wait what the rest of the season is going to have in store for us.
Indeed, mate, indeed. And next week we are at the Japanese Grand Prix, the land of the rising sun, the figure of 8 circuit with 1 DRS zone, and that should be an interesting race to watch as well. And let's see, will we see the return of Luke Stefano Bottom after the 1 race off? And Wards unfortunately did not pick up many points as well in this Grand Prix, so didn't really capitalise on the absence of Luke, Wards, Autumn and Stefano, and Mattia Manga as well. 2 P7s, 2 P6s, 2 P11s, and 2 P5s. Look, I don't know how he does it. He continues that pattern all the way along. Can he get 2 P3s or 2 P1s? Who knows this season? But yeah, what a pattern it's been so far for Mattia Manga in P8. Very consistent, it must be said, in terms of picking up the same results as well. So you can definitely tell he's got consistency. But of course, he knows he'll be frustrated with what happened down there. The move was never on, in my opinion. He was too far back, and therefore it was self-inflicted, really, and took himself out. But hopefully he could come back stronger in the next few races there after showing some good potential pace. But that is it then for the USA Grand Prix here in Kota. Another spectacular race. Yes, there was no fight for the lead of the Grand Prix, but the fights absolutely everywhere with the midfield of the Red Bull drivers keeping us entertained as well. Keke, Mattia Manga, and also the Haas driver as well, keeping us all entertained. Thiago, sorry, keeping us all entertained for the race as well. But that is it then. And once again, Milan, it's been a pleasure to commentate with you, mate. We've only got about 4 races left this season as well. So we've only got 4 races left, and let's see what happens in the championship, mate. And thank you so much as well for commentating with me.
Indeed, thank you very much. The season feels like it has flown by, but yeah, 5 races to go. It's going to be great, and thank you as well for being alongside me tonight again. But either way, I can't wait to see what the rest of the season is going to have in store for us. So, well, see you guys in next week again for the Japanese Grand Prix.
I returned to the UK about 10 hours ago. I was in the Netherlands in the past few days. I just came back today, so I'm feeling a bit tired after that one with all our travelling. But yeah, I'm glad I'm able to make it, and I think I should be able to commentate every single race this season. I should be available in October. I am going away to commentate in real life, but I should be back on the Monday again. It might be a bit late, but I should be back on Monday. So I should be back before the Brazilian Grand Prix starts. So I might make every single race this season, which you guys deserve a commentator too. So yeah, hopefully my 100% record keeps going, and it should do. And I'll see you all later. And have a good week, have a good evening. It is Monday today, so I'm about to say have a good weekend. It is Monday, but yeah, the days have gone so fast. But I'll see you all later. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.